Presenting for Tracy, McMilin, Dave Gummison.
Thank you.
Oh, let me point out something first. What we hear on this video is each one of these players being presented is the player that we're talking about. So if you want to check that out while they're presenting for that.
Thanks, that takes some heat out.
No, it doesn't.
It would be easy for me to stand up here for the next few minutes and talk about Tracy's championship titles and his consummate skills as a foosball player. But this seems to be neither the time nor place for that. I don't use the word genius very often. I just thought I'd mention that. Seriously though, Tracy's put up quite a list of accomplishments over the years. 3 world doubles titles, including an ITSF multi-table doubles title, an open mixed world title, 3 open doubles national championships, 7-time goalie of the year, 6-time recipient of the Sportsmanship Award, a member of Team USA 3 times, and every time he was on the team they came back winners. Plus numerous other regional and national titles on top of that. However, this does not really cover what I consider the most impressive and I believe important side of Tracy. Sports psychology books will tell you that under pressure an athlete can perform 15% better or 15% worse. Tracy's ability to make the big block at the most important part of a match or score a big point, or 10, under the same circumstances is truly extraordinary and puts him in a very elite group as one of the game's greatest goalies of all time. There's also his belief in himself and belief in his partners. Even under the most bleak and dire situations, Tracy never gives up, never makes excuses, win or lose. And he always gives his opponent the credit and the respect that they deserve. These are not foosball skills, these are life skills, and part of what make up Tracy's character as a person. Anyone who knows Tracy knows what a humble and genuine person he is, which makes this story I'm going to share even that much better, because it's a little out of character for him. Back in 2003, when we played the national championships, in an early round match, I was struggling pretty bad with my pull shot. We ran up against a team that was using a basic, kind of a standard race defense. And after about 5 or 6 blocks in a row, I got a little frustrated and called timeout. And I said, Tracy, you get up there and shoot it. If he's going to use that kind of a defense, you won't have any trouble. So Tracy gets up there, calls time in, sets it up, and of course the goalie uses the same standard race defense, big mistake. About 3 or 4 seconds, Tracy just blasted along before the goalie even had a chance to move. And I forgot what I was going to say. And so he blasts along, and he says, he looks up at the goalie with a little smile on his face, and he says, "You can't race that." Anyway, that always stuck out as something funny that I remember. And he was right, you can't race that. Yeah, or that I don't remember. Tracy's always had one of the best pull shots in the world from both the front and the back. It's a textbook stroke, really, and if I were going to teach somebody how to shoot that shot, Tracy's is the shot that I reference. When I first started playing with Tracy, we barely knew each other. He was a forward learning to play goalie for another forward. And I was lucky enough to have a front row seat and watch as he developed himself into one of the best goalies of all time. I also got a little something else much more valuable and important to me than any tournament or title I've ever won: a best friend. So with all that said, I couldn't be more proud, happy, or excited to present to you one of this year's inductees to the Hall of Fame, Tracy McMilin.
Texas!
On my way in here tonight, me and my wife are walking in here, and she says, whatever you do, when you get in there, when you get up there, don't try to be funny, witty, clever, intelligent. Just be yourself. I want to thank all of you for being here, making this ceremony very special for me. I also want to thank everybody on the electoral board that voted for me. A lot of these people are Hall of Famers themselves, and they make it a point to be here year after year, and I think that's very special. And I want to continue that trend even after I'm no longer here to compete. I also want to congratulate the other 4 inductees, Mary, Tiffany, Fred, Tony. I'm honored to be going in with such a very accomplished class. There's several people that I want to mention and thank for being a source of support and encouragement and inspiration over the years. Mark Snyder for being the first pro player to give me a chance as a steady partner back in 1987. Steve Murray for teaching me so much about the mental approach of the game with his never give up attitude. Cindy Head for helping me win my first world title. It was quite an honor to play with the greatest female player of all time. And I think it's also important to mention, I think it's interesting, that all 3 of the men going in tonight have a world mixed title with Cindy Head. I want to thank Marcus Reyes, Scott King, Arthur Mitchell, L.T. Adams, Randy Price, Joe Reynosa, all my Houston crew for decades of support. I want to thank my big brother Sean for buying us his first foosball table and always encouraging me to keep playing even after he stopped. Naturally, we would play tournaments together, and we won several regional tournaments, and I'll always cherish those wins. I want to thank my parents for allowing us to have a foosball table in the house. I can't remember them ever complaining about the noise. I want to thank my wife Debbie, who is as beautiful as she is smart, for sacrificing many years of holiday weekends so that I could pursue my passion for foosball.
Yeah!
She even puts up more than an entire room dedicated to foosball. I mean, we call it my office, but if you've been to my house, when you've been in my office, you know what I'm about. I've got 3 foosball tables and wall-to-wall foosball paraphernalia. And we just happen to have a desk over in the corner. I want to thank John and Daniel Smith for setting such a strong example of how to play as a team. I want to thank my promoters. Houston had 3 great promoters: Dave Currington, Roy Spencer, Mike Simons. All of these guys dedicated an enormous amount of time to make sure we had plenty of tournaments to play in. We always had Houston City Championships, a couple regionals. I think we had 2 Texas State Championships. I want to thank Carl Peterson for being the one person responsible for teaming me up with Dave Gummison and ultimately propelling my foosball career to heights that it probably never would have reached.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And of course, I want to thank Dave Gummison, which, by the way, I appreciate Dave being in such good shape for this. Getting in such good shape for this. Dave and I became instant friends. I couldn't have picked a better, more loyal teammate to have over the last 15 years. 15. I owe Dave a great debt of gratitude for his patience in me, because just like he said, when we first started playing together, I was a forward. And we had such great chemistry. He wanted to hang in there for all those years while I developed into a goalie. It was pretty rough going at first, because when I would shoot the ball from that, I shot like a singles player. I tried to score on every attempt, and I couldn't block a rollover. If you see me trying to block Tony Spreedeman over the last few years, or Serge Aragonis today, it was pretty much, you got the picture, it was pretty much that bad. I couldn't block the rollover. But Dave was determined to make this work and determined to hang in there as I developed as a goalie. He thought he was at the end of his rope, but little did he know we had some winning to do. I think it's possible that had Dave and I not teamed up, that we might not, either one of us might be playing today. I know I wouldn't. I probably would have quit 6-8 years ago, so I'm very grateful for that. Bottom line is, foosball has afforded Dave and I some great memories of competition, and I will forever be proud of what we accomplished as a team. So a lot of you may know about my accomplishments and what got me in the Hall of Fame. You probably don't know, you might not know how I got my start in foosball. So I'll tell you a little bit. I discovered foosball in 1984 in a small rec center in Deer Park, Texas. 5 or 6 of us would play on this one table. I couldn't even tell you what kind of table it was, but it didn't matter. It was all we knew. Until we found a couple of tornado tables at a small game room in Pasadena. Dave Currington owned those tables. We would play weekly tournaments. We would play for points and for these little certificates, and you would qualify for a $1,000 no entry fee tournament, and that was huge as a 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid playing for a $1,000 tournament. So we couldn't get enough. And Dave and Roy Spencer did a great job of kind of uniting our city. We didn't realize at the time that they had tables in other game rooms all over the city. So when the time was right, they would start taking us to these other tournaments and bringing other people to our tournaments. And through those competitions, we made a lot of great friends, and we developed a new excitement that there was a whole other world of foosball that we didn't realize existed. So I got my moment of inspiration when I went to my first big tournament. It was the 1985 Tornado World Championships, where I saw my hometown heroes, the Smith brothers, win open doubles, and another hometown team of Ronnie Joyner and Cindy John won open mixed. So I was hooked on foosball at that point, and I haven't missed the World Championships in 28 years. Not one tournament, not one World Championships. All I knew is I wanted to win championships. I was hooked on foosball, found a new hobby, and I wanted to win championships. And I thought I would win those championships in the forward position based on my influences. Steve Murray, Todd Fredo, John Smith, Johnny Horton, all these other great forwards in the game that I got to watch. So it's kind of funny because I feel like I've had 2 foosball careers. I played 15 years as a forward and then 15 years as a goalie. So I feel like I'm exactly like Todd Fredo, except with all the titles. I was also extremely privileged to play on the 3 World Cup teams on 3 occasions, and it was definitely a huge honor and very much a highlight of my foosball career. I love teamwork, and I love the feeling of your teammates rallying behind you when to help you win. And those events were amazing. They're the essence of teamwork. Just this past year, we had Gunnison, Lafredo, Mares, Jor, Screeden, Tappan, all on your team, rooting for you to win. Can you imagine having those guys on your team helping you win?
Pretty good team, by the way.
That's a pretty good team. So, to wrap this up, to get an award for something that you realize has become such a big part of you is especially satisfying. Foosball has brought me an amazing gift that has accumulated through decades of competition. And its impact on my life is profound. And that's friends. Lifelong friends. And many of them are here tonight. So, thank you, Foosball, and thank you, Hall of Fame, for the awesome award and the reminder of the true benefit that I've received. Thank you.